What's up everybody, Coach Mills here, and if you're like me, you've been playing Overwatch for quite a long time. And the one insult that would always dig under your skin, no matter what rank you're at, is the term hard stuck. And it implies that no matter what you do, you will not improve. And typically, many players who have been in the same rank for a lot of seasons in a row feel like or get called hard stuck. But I'm about to tell you the 9 reasons that you're quote-unquote hard stuck and give you actionable tips how to improve and get right out of your rank. Now, the first reason you could be hard stuck, and this is a big one, it's following the medal system. Now, the medal system is completely flawed. It's like one of those participation trophies they hand out these days. Oh, you pat yourself on the back when you have gold damage, but your Widow, who headshot like 3 people a fight, will have no damage medal. And realistically, there's only like one person you're competing with damage, and just because your other DPS isn't doing as much damage as you, doesn't mean you're actually doing enough damage to win the team fight. Just because you're going for more proactive plays and not healing as much as your other healer doesn't mean you're a worse player. Just because you have less shield damage blocked doesn't mean you're a worse tank. Like, these metrics make absolutely no sense, and in the worst case, they can actually hold you back. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, my crit rate is this, my accuracy is this, I have over 9,000 healing per 10 seasons of Dragon Ball Z. No one cares about the amount of healing you have. These numbers are completely arbitrary and they don't matter. There's so many different ways to have impact in a game, and these little tiny boxes are only going to hold you back. In almost every case, you just forget about them. Now, you can use them to evaluate yourself based on past performance. And you can notice really important things like, hey, I have 23 deaths and only 2 kills, and I'm a DPS player. Yeah, probably there's some problems there, but generally about, I do this much damage per second, I got goldy limbs, none of that stuff matters, so just drop it and you'll be better off. Now, the second thing that could be holding you back and keeping you hard stuck is dying unnecessary deaths. There are very few acceptable deaths in Overwatch. And you might be asking, what am I talking about by acceptable deaths? Well, resetting. Resetting is a big one where you're just trying to reset with your team. Maybe you died, but before you died, you got a whole bunch of value, and you had to like go in with a blade, and maybe you got 3 kills but died. That's fine. Or maybe you and your team engaged in a full team fight, and you got pushed by like 3 people. That is an acceptable death. Now, what is unacceptable? The first one is dying first ever. If you're the first one to die on both sides of the team, even if you're just the first one to die on your team, you messed up. That is just unacceptable. You should almost never die first. I mean, realistically, you should never die first. The second thing is dying for little or no value. Like, what are you doing if you're just dying for no value? Like, what are you accomplishing if you just go in and flank them, blink around a couple of times as Tracer and die? Creating space is not enough value to win, especially at the lower ranks. And even at the higher ranks, it just really isn't. That's not enough. And basically, every single life, you need to be getting things done. Whether it's kills, whether it's impact, whatever, you can't die for no value. The third thing is you die before investing your ultimate, especially in a decisive team fight. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it in your games. You just lost a team fight that was close, and you look at the people that died, and 4 of them have ultimates that they didn't use. Maybe if you use those ultimates, you think you would have won that fight? Most likely. But investing your ultimates is something that a lot of people are like afraid to do because they're afraid of wasting them. But it's far better to invest in a close fight and have a chance to win it than never invest at all. I mean, what are you saving it for? Christmas? But all joking aside, that is very important. And the last thing that you could never, ever die to, and I mean never die to staggering late. This happens so much. You either stagger in, where you're just going in without your team and dying, poking at the choke, doing no definitive pick damage. You're not getting a pick, you're just dealing damage that gets healed up. That's just trash damage. It's not going to lead to anything. And you risk getting staggered or killed before your team is even ready to fight. Or you die late, and dying late might even be worse sometimes, because it's like your whole team dies, right? And you are still there, and then you die, and then your 5 members of your team, what do they do? Or maybe even your 3 or whatever. What do they do if you died right when they got to the fight? Do you think that they come back to spawn and regroup with you? No, they go in without you, and then they die because they don't have you, because you are a vital member of the team. Whether you're a main tank, a healer, DPS, doesn't matter. You're vital to the team. And then now they all die, and they lost the fight, all because you staggered, and it could be a perpetual thing. So regardless of what everyone else is doing in your team, do not be the one to stagger or die late. Now, the third thing you need to do to stop being hard stuck is stop blaming those around you. Every person in your rank has strengths, specific strengths, that got them there in the first place, while also having weaknesses that hold them back from going beyond that rank. You need to try to enable their strengths and find a way to work around their weaknesses as well. You see, no matter what teammates you get, you are the constant. Your teammates will always be random variables of value. Like, let's say that sometimes they're anywhere from 1 to 10. 1 being far worse than their rank in that given game, and 10 being like a hardcore smurf. Well, no matter what their numbers are, it's always going to be random, right? On your team and the other team. But you are the one variable that will never change. And if you have more overall impact every single game, you will climb. I guarantee it. And all you have to do is increase your variable. Like I said, you are the constant. Your teammates are random. You're the one that you can control. Now, the fourth thing that probably is holding you back is being mediocre mechanically. Now, often this will directly happen to players that are too flexible, but sometimes it will happen to players who are too confident in their own mechanics when they really shouldn't be. Some players will think that they're great at their best hero. They say, my best hero is McCree, I'm nuts at him, I can do the job, right? But they don't really put that much time into mechanical skill. Now, the important thing for you to understand is a player who knows 5 times less about the game, you can lose to over and over again if they are double as good as you mechanically. I mean, mechanics drive everything else. Whether it's positioning or game sense, if you can't execute on a game plan or you can't utilize a good positioning because your mechanics are lacking, then it doesn't matter about anything else. And that's why someone that is really mechanically gifted might know far less than you about the game. And to better emphasize this, I'm going to give you an example or an analogy. Let's take Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, okay? Doesn't matter how much Kung Fu Daniel Radcliffe knows, guy from Harry Potter, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will still tie him into a human knot. Now, in this example, if you have bad mechanics, you're Daniel Radcliffe. It doesn't matter what you know about the game. Dwayne will still fold you. So what I'm trying to portray here is that if you don't put time into your mechanics, practice, warm up, I'm going to get to that in a little bit, but if you don't put time and effort into your mechanics, then you'll forever be that super smart, knowledgeable Daniel Radcliffe that just gets rolled over and over again. Now, moving on to number 5, this is a big one that hurts a lot of people no matter what rank they are, but specifically at the lower ranks, they worry too much about meta. And I know that this is the case because every time we release a meta video on this channel, it gets tons of views. And that's cool. It's good that you know the meta. But meta only really matters at the higher ranks like Masters Plus, and lower than that, it doesn't matter nearly as much. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. The reason why is because at the lower ranks, there's a lot of people that aren't even playing the meta, and even if they are, you have to be playing the meta correctly or to a certain skill level to block out certain quote-unquote bad picks. Let me give you this example. You can never ever play Roadhog against the GM, Orisa, and Sigma because you could get blocked out, you could get pull rocked while you're trying to take a breather, and against these tanks, you're going to get almost no value because they manage to shield you off well and all these factors. However, if you're at a lower rank and playing Hog, and the Sigma and the Orisa don't work well enough together, or they don't even realize what you're doing and the way you're flanking, and they don't specifically target you to shut you down because they don't even identify that, or they don't have the skill set, then you can still get value on Roadhog. And even more than that, because the meta is so little enforced at those ranks, the enemy are more than likely not even going to be on Orisa and Sigma. So, of course, you could play Hog more. So, saying, like, in a plat game, hey, get off Hog, he's not meta, when the enemy is not even playing the characters that shut him down, and even if they were, they wouldn't even be playing those characters correctly to shut you down. These are all the things that you have to think about when talking about a meta. And there's a lot of players that really get meta in their mind, like, meta is the only thing that matters, but it really doesn't. And if you live and die by the meta, you're only holding yourself back. Here's the big takeaway. Play what you're good at and what you like to play, but don't just straight up fold to your counters or the meta. You need to find a way to be effective against anything, especially the most played things in your rank, or what I would call your rank meta, and then learn how to play the character that you like to play up against whatever is your rank's meta. But if that is not possible, then learn how to flex with something that can. And that is the biggest takeaway I can give you. Don't be overly worried about the general overarching meta. It's only going to hold you back. Now, the 6th big thing, and this is the truth about being hard stuck. And I know that it's a brutal word to hear. I've been called it before. You've been called it before. You might have even called people it before. It is just like the most awful word to hear, really. It really is. It's a brutal word. But here is the truth. If you were in the rank for a long time, and I mean multiple seasons in a row, then you just need to accept it. Don't fight it. Don't say, it's because of my teammates, or it's because of this, or it's because of that. Just accept it, and then tackle it like any other reality. What do I need to do to change this fact? If you don't like it, then you can do something to change it. I'm going to tell you how. The best thing that you could do is to find out what you're truly weak at. If you can't get privatized VODs, record some of your gameplay for a buddy, maybe a rank or two higher than you. Even if he's the same rank, it's fine, but it's better to get like 1 or 2 ranks higher than you, and ask him to watch it and just to see what mistakes you're making. Even looking at your own gameplay and looking it over can show you some of your mistakes as clear as day. Let me give you an example from my personal VOD reviews back when I used to do them all the time. I had a Baptiste that I reviewed back in Gold, and he told me straight up that his teammates always held him back, and he wanted me to VOD review him to kind of prove to him that he was correct. He wanted basically me, as I guess the expert in this scenario, to tell him, hey, yeah, your teammates are holding you back, you're stuck in elo hell, it's not your fault. But he didn't even watch the video that he sent me, and then he sent it to me, and we watched it at the same time, and I saw this Baptiste throw Immortality Field on a tank that lost only 50 HP, and not only try to do that, but also miss entirely. And then we watched throughout the entire game him proceed to basically throw his Immortality Field out loosely on cooldown. The second he got it, he threw it. Half the time he missed, and most of the time it got no value, and then later on, there would be a very particular moment where he could have saved like 3 people with it if he would have just timed it a little bit better. He basically watched in horror and told me that he realized all the things he did wrong before I even had to say anything. Because if you look at it like that, it's as clear as day. And if you don't get into your head about, I am better than this, then it's a lot easier to acknowledge your mistakes and work past them. And that's really what you need to do if you want to improve, and this is what this video is all about, and this is what you should accept. It will be a lot easier down the road, trust me. And then the last thing about this is take your mistakes and improvements one at a time. Just like with that Baptiste example, he could just take it one at a time. Savor Immortality Field for when your teammates really need it. That would be one mistake. Make sure every time you throw it, you hit it exactly what you want to hit it. That's another mistake. Take things one at a time. Fix one thing at a time, and slowly and surely, you will be better and better. I wasted this ult. I messed up this play. I didn't know he had this ult. And as you eradicate these mistakes, you will improve, and a lot of times, people that don't improve very often just get completely overwhelmed, and they end up trying to work on everything, but in reality, they work on nothing, and they just never improve. Now, the next thing, and this is really important, it's create a ritual to play. This is a big one to build up consistency. I would highly suggest every single time before you start playing, warm up before you play. Whether or not that's tryhard free-for-all, like I always preach, or Widow headshot, or just shooting bots, whatever it is, do a ritual every single time you're supposed to play. Also, I would highly suggest be in the exact same start position. Whether you're sitting on a couch on your console or in your chair, have the exact same distance from the monitor, have the exact same mouse position, or whatever, exact same posture. Everything should be identical. And this is going to matter a little bit more for PC players, but in general, what this is trying to do is trying to make a consistency so you can isolate all your out-of-game factors. It makes it a lot easier to isolate your in-game factors and keep your mental state clean. On top of that, other factors like sleep could be a huge detractor in your consistency, so keep that in mind. If you really want to take ranked seriously, try not to be like hopped up on like 10 energy drinks with only like 2 hours of sleep. Of course, you're not going to be consistent. There's no way. Anyways, moving on to the next thing, find a duo partner that helps you improve with a similar mindset to you. It doesn't matter how good you are or what elo you're in. If you try to go at it alone, you will lose your mind in ranked. I mean, I don't even think that playing solo queue is that bad. No matter what role you are, I think you can climb solo queue. But I do think that you're way more prone to tilting if you try to do it alone. It makes things a lot more difficult, and I do think that there are some benefits in duo stacking. Find a duo with synergistic hero pools and calm together. Work off of each other's plays and try to make plays together. 2v1 enemies. If an enemy's on a flank, go after him together. Peel for each other. Combo ultimates every single chance, and make sure that each of you want to improve and neither of you will tilt each other into oblivion. Sometimes you'll get some duos where one person really is trying and the other person's not. That's not what you want. You want someone that is very like-minded to you, that has similar aspirations to improving and climbing as you do. That is the only way that's going to work out down the road, because eventually you're going to be far better than them if they're not trying, and then they're actually going to be holding you back because you're doing with them. So that's not what you want. You want mindset. Mindset comes first. Now, the ninth and final thing, and this might be the most important thing, is get a GameLeap.com premium. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to get to that in the end. But what you need to do is walk away when you're tilted. Remember that sometimes ranking up is the long game. Imagine this, right? You have a 55% win rate. And if you keep that after enough games, you will climb out of the rank. If you keep that win rate up as you climb, you will climb out of your rank. However, one bad day of tilted games, let's say you play an entire day of tilted games, that can extend the amount of games it would take to climb out by maybe like 30 plus. And I'm serious. If you just have a slight positive win rate and you have one bad day of tilted games that causes your win rate to be like 30% because you're so tilted you're not playing at your peak, then it can just cause like this giant amount of games you have to win or play in order to actually climb out. And if you have multiple tilted days a week, then you're just never going to climb out. And it's not because you're a bad player. It's because you're consistently playing not at your peak performance. Don't let your tilted mindset keep you in your rank any longer than you need to be. But that's all I got for you today. I'm Coach Mills, and until next time,